In this video, we're going to look at some of the new Business Central platform update features. For those of you that are unaware, Business Central is a platform that is built by Microsoft, and it's also periodically updated by Microsoft as well. What Garage Hive do is they modify the platform and bring you all of the automotive-based features. This is one of the advantages to being based on a platform. You not only get the developers new updates and features as in Garage Hive's development team, but we also get lots of really cool features from Microsoft, some of which we're going to look at today. So I'm not going to go into the detail of all of the changes. There are quite literally hundreds of changes that have come with this platform update. We're going to go over about 10 points, starting with some of the more simpler stuff and then going into some of the really cool, exciting stuff towards the end of the video. I'm going to try and keep the video as short as I can, but there is quite a lot to talk about. So we're going to start by going into a job sheet. And you'll just notice some of the aesthetics. So for example, the column header text is now lowercase. It looks like a slightly different font. You have this arrow, you see this arrow on the left-hand side, which indicates which line you're on, which is quite useful. If you select multiple lines, you can see this has changed. It looks much nicer than it did previously. There are lots of these small aesthetic changes. I'm not going to go into the detail of all of them. You'll just spot them as I'm going along on this video. So moving to one of the first features, you'll notice in the top right hand corner we have this saved button now. So a very common question, particularly to new Garage Hive customers, is how do I know it's saved? Because Garage Hive is a live system, there is no save button. It can feel quite daunting the first time you build a document, for example, and you may be used to pressing a save button. Well, now you'll notice that as I type, the top changes from saving to saved. So you can have the confidence that the work you've done has actually saved. It only happens for a second because it does save so quickly, but it is just a bit of reassurance for you. We have this button in the top right corner here now. This is a feature that you can enable if you use multiple companies. So some of you have multiple companies running out of Garage Hive. You can now use this to identify which company you're in. You can change the color of this and the text on this. So very useful for those that switch between training and the real environment, for example. You now get an indicator as to which environment you're actually working in. Right, so one of the first features of the platform update is now the full keyboard shortcut support. So I'm just going to quickly show you an image. I'm not going to go over all of these, but these are your keyboard shortcuts. There's lots to learn. Some of them are very useful though, so I'm just going to show you some of these. That will be on the blog post as well, so you can learn in a bit more detail about the shortcuts. But one of my favorites is the ability to toggle the fact box. So if I press Alt F2, then it will open and close the fact box. This is particularly useful for those that don't have a very big screen and you're lacking in real estate on the document lines, which introduces this sideways scroll bar, for example. Moving on to a new feature introduced by Microsoft because of this real estate issue is a new keyboard shortcut called Shift Control F12, and that's going to open something called focus mode. What you can also do is click this button here and this will open focus mode. Now what focus mode does is it uses the entire screen and it removes all of the other information on the document and presents you with just the lines. So this is very useful in particular when you're working with large documents. So if I add a load of lines here, you can see it's much easier, whereas before you can see probably 10 lines. I think you can see perhaps 20 or even more lines now. Some additional keyboard shortcuts. If I select multiple lines and now press Control Delete and Enter, it's going to delete those lines. Likewise, if I want to insert, if I press Control Insert, it inserts a line above. And then I can press Control Delete and then delete that line. There are lots of keyboard shortcuts. I think there's roughly about 30 keyboard shortcuts, all designed to increase the speed at which you can use the system. Again, it's up to you to learn which ones are useful to you guys. Right, so there is an update to the way you can navigate as well. You now have this button here, and this is called the Role Explorer. So if I open this up, you can see it very simply just breaks down all of the pages and documents that are available to that particular role center. You also have the ability to search from here as well. So it's just a different way to navigate. You may use it, you may not use it. This feature is going to make a bit more sense in a feature that I'm going to demonstrate a bit later on in the video. You can also select Explore All and then just have a look around all of Garage Hive's tables if you want to. So performance change to the platform is something that you're probably all aware of. Chart of accounts is when you are working in a big list of data, as you scroll down, it loads the data in chunks. So when you get to the bottom of the current chunk of data, it will then load the next chunk of data before it allowed you to scroll into that data. Well, now there is continuous scrolling. So you're going to have to be quick to see this, but as I scroll down this, you'll notice it never stops me. It just carries on loading the page. It will, first of all, it will load the lines as blank, and then it will populate, but it will allow me to scroll past. So I'm going to scroll really quickly. See blank. That's a fraction of a second, but you saw those blanks at the very bottom. So let's just see if I can demonstrate that again for you. If I scroll really quickly, blank, blank, and then it loads. But it never prevents me from scrolling further down in the list. This is very useful for those of you that work with very big lists of data, in particular when you are using it for like marketing purposes, etc. Again, another performance increase in the same vein as the continuous scrolling. You'll notice that a very similar thing happens now when you open any documents. So I'm going to open this job sheet, and you'll notice that the cells are momentarily blank, and then they load the data in. Previously, it would have to load all of the data, and then it presented the document to you. So when I open this document, you notice it's blank for a fraction of a second, and then the data loads in. What this does from a user perspective is feel like the performance is much better. So it loads, I mean, it's fractions of a second in which it loads a document now. Now this PC that I'm doing this demonstration on as a 30 megabyte broadband line is not particularly quick, but I still get the full advantage of these documents opening what feels instantly. So a great performance increase on both lists and documents. Right, so one of my favorite features is the ability to save filtered lists. Now, this is something that you've probably all experienced, especially if you use the bulk SMS feature or you export to MailChimp or any other reason to export data periodically. You create an elaborate set of filters, do your export, and then you find the next time you go back to the list, you've got to redo your set of filters. Well, Microsoft have solved that problem now, so I'm going to create a filtered list. I'm going to filter the MOT due date, so ... today, which means up to today. And then I'm going to filter to ones where MOT job sheets don't exist. So I'll say filter to this value, which is these two vehicles anyway. So we have up to today and where a job sheet doesn't exist. So I could be exporting this data to MailChimp, I could be doing a bulk SMS, I could be doing a bulk update, or I could just be ringing these customers. Now, what I can now do, you see there's this saved button here. If I select saved and call this MOT expiry, you now see that we have a new view called MOT expiry. So if I leave this list, go back to the list, and then simply select MOT expiry, it then pre-selects those filters. Now you'll notice here that this filter is set to a particular date, which is today, which is the 12th of August. However, that would mean that if I was to run this tomorrow and it still filtered to the 12th, then this would be no good. But you'll notice that what the filter's done is it's actually showing you the result of a formula. So if I select it, you can see that the formula is still up to today. So when I run this filter tomorrow, it will be the 13th, not the 12th. So very, very useful, very good for increasing the speed at which you filter lists. And you can create as many views as you want, and you can do it on any page that you can, any list that you can filter. Right, so one of the most significant changes to the platform, and I know that this is one that's going to be extremely popular, it's one of my favorites. I'm going to do it from this job sheet as an example. You'll notice the new button here called Open this page in a new window. So if I click this button, it opens the current job sheet in a new window and then removes the window from the previous screen. So it's like it's lifting the document off the screen, returning the previous screen to its previous state. And now I can very simply move this onto my next screen. So very useful if you're in the middle of doing something and a customer calls and you've got to very quickly change task. Well, now you can just pop out what you were doing, chuck it onto another screen, and then carry on work where you were. And very simply bring that back and carry on working. This applies to all screens. So for example, if I wanted to do it on the schedule, pop it out, and now I've got a separate window, I can carry on working. T card, pop it out, carry on working. This does mean that you now have multi-tab support in Garage Hive as well. So you could have 100 tabs open if you wanted to. It's not going to cause any session issues or any timeouts. It's fully supported now. Right, so the final issue we're going to look at is all about personalization, and Microsoft's view is that they can't design the screens, like the Garage Hive team can't design the screens for everybody. Everybody's got their own way of how they expect a document to look. Well, now there is loads of personalization that can be done on a user level or on a role center level. So the first one we're going to look at is something called bookmarks. And you'll notice that this top menu here, we have a lot of space here. And I actually want to add a few shortcuts here to my most commonly used screens. So for example, if I wanted to currently get to items, I'll have to go catalogs, items. Well, if I open items, you'll notice I have this button here, which looks like a bookmark because that's what it is. So if I tick it, this bookmark was added to your navigation menu on your role center. If I go back home, I now have access to items. Another really common one is register customer payments, and I can bookmark it if I wanted to. What you'll also notice is that I can actually bookmark it straight from here. So if I select bookmark, because it's really common, it's now accessible from the home screen. So that's your first level of customization, which you can add any access to any page straight from the home center of your straight from the home screen of your role center. The next level of customization is to do with columns. So you'll notice now that very similar in Excel, I can now change column widths. So if I drag this, the column width is going to change. Again, if I go into the job sheet and I want this to be shorter, but I want the description to be longer, I can now change the column widths. And if I reopen the document, it's then saved against the document. So that's your second stage of personalization. The final stage is a feature that Microsoft have added called Personalize. So under settings in the top right hand corner, you can select Personalize. When you select this, you'll notice that you get this bar across the top, this personalization bar, and then whichever screen that I'm on, I can then customize. So if I wanted, for example, to remove the customer number, I select hide. But let's say I wanted the customer name to be further forwards, I can drag that up to here. Then if I open the document, I can decide that we don't want requested delivery time. So I'm going to hide it. And the external document number is not something that we use very frequently, so I'm actually going to hide that under show more. So I'm not going to remove it, but to get access to it, I now need to select show more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the key tag above the mileage. So I'm just going to drag that over there, and that's now going to sit above the mileage. And actually, I've decided I want to add some fields back. So if I wanted requested delivery date, I very simply just drag it back, and I can just drop it anywhere on the document. So you've got full customization on where you want the cells, whether you want the cells, and which order you want the cells in. Moving on, we can adjust the column widths of the job sheet, which I've already touched on, but you can also change the layout of the columns. So if I wanted, let's say, the description, in fact, I want the line checker to be first, I could just move that up. If I want the unit cost to be before quantity, I can just move it up. If I wanted to remove the line checker, I can just hide it. So I've got full customization over what appears and in which order on the documents. This applies to all documents as well. I select done. That personalization is now saved. And when I reopen the document, it's going to be in this current state. So in addition to that, we have under profile roles, if I scroll down to Service Advisor and select Customize Pages, I can now customize the role center. So previously I was personalizing my username, or now I can customize the role center for how it looks for all of my staff. So I get all the same features as I did in the personalization. If I unlock this, and for example, I don't want to use the reminder tiles, or let's say I don't use the awaiting parts tile, I select hide, that's now gone. Select done, and that's now saved it for all the service advisors. And the final stage to this feature is the ability to export and import profiles. So if you are doing quite a bit of extensive work in the personalization, then we highly recommend that you export your work. We can't guarantee the stability of what you personalize. You could lose the personalization for technical issues. Therefore, we strongly recommend any work is exported and saved, because then what you can do is re-import it. What that also means is that you can share modified profiles between other Garage Hive customers in the community if you want to. So that brings us to the end of the platform preview. I hope you're as excited as I am about some of the features. This is just a very small handful of what's coming with the platform. You have the Microsoft-based features, but you also have lots of Garage Hive updates. Now, the team has been developing almost exclusively on the newest platform for quite some time now. So there are lots of features that are Garage Hive based, not platform based, that will also be coming with BC16 update. I'll be doing a preview video on this hopefully before the end of this month, and we'll give you an idea as to what some of those features look like. So really look forward to your feedback. If you've got any questions, get them in the community forum or pop them in the YouTube channel. Thank you.